which is that two separate aircraft have struck the two towers of the World Trade Center. If memory serves, I think each of those towers stands 110 stories. Some of the dust, as you can probably see now, is blowing in our faces. It just really depends on which way the wind blows as to whether or not we're enveloped in some of the dust and the smoke. As you can see from these pictures, the amount of dust from the fire that's still burning, flames and ash, is extraordinary at this point. And at least a few emergency workers have said that they really aren't so sure that other tower won't stay up now. They really didn't think the first one was capable of coming down, but it did. And so they're basically saying, keep back as far as you can. On the other hand, facing that danger, as we have been telling you, many, many hundreds of these workers are heading over those lines down towards that burning building to try to rescue those people who are in there, be they emergency workers, be they civilians. The original crash took place just about 8:45 by my reckoning. I don't know the exact time, but about 8:45. And when that took place, obviously at that hour the building would not be packed with people, but it's still late enough in the morning that there would be enough people on those floors that the loss of life and certainly the injuries would likely be extraordinary. What you are looking at now is a close-up of the enormous hole in the side of that building. That is exactly what happens when a plane hits the side of the World Trade Center. The only time that we really have any kind of comparative experience as to how to do this, rather how to compare it to, I suppose, is in 1945, a B-25, an Army B-25, just at the end of World War II, crashed into the Empire State Building, and that caused, obviously, a great deal of damage, but it happened at night, so the loss of life was not that bad.
That's Pat Dawson reporting from outside the World Trade Center. You see the live picture, smoke continuing to billow from the upper floors. We have just received word that all inbound international flights to the United States are being diverted to Canada. The government will not allow them to land here in the U.S. They are being diverted to Canada. As we've been reporting, all airports in the U.S. have shut down departures. We were watching on our Flight Explorer. I don't know if we can put it on the air right now. This is a system in which we can actually look at the number of airplanes in the air. Normally, this would be dotted with little blue airplane figures. Look at how few we're looking. It looks like only 3 over the immediate New York City metropolitan area. Just a handful. Airplanes in the air are being allowed to land at their destinations, and then that is it. Now, keep in mind, the planes you're looking at here are only those that are participating in the FAA radar system, airliners. This does not include anybody in a small Cessna or a small plane who might be flying what's called VFR traffic, where they're just flying below the commercial traffic. But again, these represent commercial airplanes or airplanes that are participating in the FAA system, just a handful in the skies over the Northeast right now. Greg, Chris?
Watching continuing NBC News coverage on MSNBC of a series of apparent terrorist attacks on the United States. First, 2 planes crashing into the upper floors of both World Trade Center towers in Lower Manhattan just minutes apart this morning. And again, what President Bush said was an apparent terrorist attack. Sometime later, Twin Tower number 1, World Trade Center number 1, as it is known, collapsed. Within the hour, an aircraft crashed into a helicopter landing pad near the Pentagon, and the West Wing of the White House was evacuated, among other places. The Pentagon has been evacuated, the White House, the Capitol, the Sears Tower in Chicago, and you see the billowing smoke that continues to come out of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. Joining us on the phone, Dr. Angelo Caprio. He is at St. Mary's Hospital in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is across the river from Manhattan. And doctor, as I understand it, well, let's go to WNBC coverage first.
State Department officials and the White House officials and the NSC have all been evacuated as well, although Condi Rice was earlier in the Situation Room. And CIA Director George Tenet has been holding meetings in his office in Langley, Virginia. And as we reported earlier, key FBI team members from their rescue efforts and anti-terror coordinating team were stranded in Monterey, California, where they were on a secret military exercise against exactly this kind of event.
Angela, Audrey, let me interrupt for a second. Can you tell us any more about reports we're getting that a car bomb has exploded?
And so you heard NBC's Andrea Mitchell expanding the number of evacuations in Washington, D.C., the NSC, and the State Department as well. As I told you, we have Dr. Angelo Caprio on the phone from St. Mary's Hospital in Hoboken, New Jersey. Doctor, I know it's extremely busy. What can you tell us about any casualties you're receiving there?
We're receiving some minor burns now. We have 3 emergency rooms in our hospital system, one here at St. Mary's, one at St. Francis, and one at Christ Hospital in Jersey City, and we're open and functioning to receive any casualties that we may get.
You are directly across the river from Midtown Manhattan. Have you ever in your experience gotten any of these types of casualties from New York? What kind of emergency plan is in place that would include New Jersey hospitals?
I don't know what kind of emergency plan they have in place. We have our external disaster plan in place. We sent triage teams to the Path Station Hoboken Terminal. And as I said, we have our 3 emergency rooms open and running.
Dr. Angelo Caprio, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
From around the New York City metropolitan region, help is pouring in after the attack on the Twin Towers.
And we believe now the second tower of the World Trade Center, that would be tower number 2, has collapsed. This is a terrible, terrible tragedy. The first one collapsed just a short time ago. This now appears to be the second of the Twin Towers, having been struck, each of them, by a plane, has collapsed. Let's listen.
From the area. There are firefighters and there are police trying to evacuate the area as quickly as possible. People who are near the area are in an absolute frenzied situation. The entire top of the building just collapsed. You can see the plume of smoke is coming in our direction. Let's get out of here, Ralph. We're going to leave because the smoke is coming right at us.
Obviously, this is a devastating moment.
Look at that. The World Trade Center is no more.
We do not know at this point.
What has happened in Lower Manhattan, almost unfathomable. An apparent terrorist attack. 2 planes deliberately crashed, we believe, into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. Now, these are pictures from just moments ago. Earlier, one World Trade Center collapsed. Now you can see the collapse of the second tower. It is almost incomprehensible to believe that these 2 110-story towers, there you see it, just collapsing into the ground, are no longer part of the skyline of Manhattan. And there were huge numbers of emergency workers who were rushing to the scene to deal with the injured in that area, from the first 2 initial explosions and then, of course, the collapse of the first of the World Trade Center towers, now with the second collapse.